Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Offensive Zone Hockey Show with me, Ian, and I'm joined today by the man who's the gap between Neanderthal and dinosaur. It's it's the caveman.
Hello.
And I'm joined by another guest today who was on the show a couple of weeks back, but unfortunately that show was a show that never was because it didn't work and didn't record for some unknown technical reason. So, returning guest to us, but first time guest for anybody who's actually listening, we have James with us.
How are we, guys?
So, we have a special episode today because we're doing the trade deadline special. We're recording this and it's Monday night. It's currently 19:48 in the UK, which means that there is how many minutes left, Chris?
12 minutes, but usually there's like a backlog of trades going through the offices and stuff, so usually about 8:30 our time.
Exactly. So I'm not going to say we're going to bring you this first, because if we are bringing you this first, it means you wasn't paying attention at all last night. But if you're listening to it and it's Monday night, because this podcast will be up virtually as soon as we finish it, then hopefully this will be relatively relevant still. But before we get into trades, because there has been quite a few, we're going to ask James a couple of questions, the questions we normally ask our guests. And the first one, which is the easiest one, which is tell us really how you got into hockey.
For me, it was back in 2010. We'd recently just bought an Xbox 360, and it was a matter of finding any game we could to download the demo of. And came across NHL 10, I think it was at the time. And from there, it was a matter of kind of seeing what team we could pick first, and then it was just a fighting game of me and my brother constantly, and turned out to be at the time and our best game. And since then, we've been playing it every year and following the NHL.
It's a good game, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
I'll vouch for that.
I could
do with some upgrades.
I could beat you all at it. We should have
I don't doubt that.
an offensive zone tournament.
We actually should.
I was on
I'll put
the
money on the board and happily walk away.
with none of it.
No.
So obviously that leads us on to asking who your favourite team is.
By far the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that may not be, well, it definitely isn't because of the past couple of years. I have been a Pittsburgh fan since the day
since
I
2010,
found out about it. Since 2010, which funny enough they were in the Stanley Cup final. So maybe a bit of a glory supporter, but it's the first team I kind of saw that you were drawn to. And from there, you can't really help it, can you?
No.
You find a team and you follow them.
In fairness, though, after 2010, there was a quite long gap.
Oh, yeah, it was tough.
I mean, you've
A
kind of
long
had quite
gap. A few years.
For me, it felt like a long gap.
Look at Montreal, 25 years. Like St. Louis Blues, I don't even know how long they've been around. They've never bloody won it.
Yeah,
long
shouldn't
gap. A few years. Bloody hell. You being a Chicago fan and him being a Pittsburgh fan have corrupted you. Corrupted your greed.
2 years I'm there going, but this is crap. We're not even winning anything. So, hey, look, in my own defence, back when I joined the Hawks, they weren't winning the Stanley Cup. They just done it most years since. But what's going to happen? Yeah, just what happens. So, but now we're in cap hell and it's all gone pear-shaped. So whereas the Penguins seem to have managed to avoid cap hell, and again this year seems to be really competitive. So the next question, before we go on to your thoughts of where the Penguins are, is who is your favourite player of all time or recently?
All time. Everyone's going to assume, obviously, Sid, blah blah blah, but it's always been and always will be Malkin.
Good choice.
The guy's just funny and hilarious, and it's just.
He looks funny as well.
Do you know what I mean?
He looks like a caveman. Like,
is that why you like him?
Yeah. Well, I'm not a big fan. He's good. Good, but he's better than any player on my team, so I don't like him. So.
But if he was in the red and blue jersey,
I'd be my favourite.
Would be
Retire his jersey after one game. So.
on his opening game, just put it straight up in the rafters. That's a good choice, man.
Yeah.
I think Malkin is. I wouldn't say he's unsung because he really isn't.
No,
but,
not now, especially this season. We did earlier in the year. We have been struggling, so it was a matter of he was the one that would actually turn up for once, and
Yeah, so actually that nicely takes us on to your thoughts on this season, because ironically, when we recorded this the first time,
it was horrible.
Everything was going pear-shaped and you were looking like it was going to be a long, long season.
Yeah, I really didn't want to come on here, I'm not going to lie. But things have really turned around, and I'm waking up every morning and seeing that we actually won a game, which is nice to see, seeing as half of the year.
Chris, what's that like?
No need to rub it in, mate. Bloody hell.
Well, since losing 10-1 to Blackwell, it's kind of just been like, it's just been painful.
Yeah, but so you had the opposite season to us.
Yes.
Like, the first game of the season, the first 2 games of the season was a 10-1 and a 6 something or other. And, I was there like, man, we're going to win 82-0. And and then it all went tits up. Whereas for you guys, like, it started tits up and it's kind of...
Yeah, I think...
You really look like you might three-peat, I think, is the term that they're using, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're on it. With who they're adding as well, like, they're probably...
We'll come to that in a minute.
Oh yeah, they're probably up there top 4 teams in the East, which is ridiculous to think. But...
So, so I think what we'll do is we'll go after the trades and we'll come back and ask you a couple more questions.
Sounds good.
Since the last recording, before we cover the trades that have happened today on deadline day, there was a couple that happened in between hand. Rick Nash moved from the Rangers in. The Rangers obviously decided a couple of months back, sent a little letter to all their fans saying, hey, going to blow this shit up.
The players love it. Because the players, like, they were in Montreal a few days ago playing, and a lot of the reporters asked them, was Montreal media like, oh, I wish our general manager would do the same. The player was basically saying, it was a bit of a kick in the balls, really, like, because we were 2 points out of the playoffs, and they said, we're going to trade all the fan favourites. They're looking at each other like, oh, cheers management, way to show you support for us, but, well. So they traded Rick Nash.
for Matt Bolesky, yeah.
Well,
and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Chris, you've got the entire trade there. Do you want to just read through for the fans and the listeners and all that jazz? What exactly he gave up? Because it was a hell of a lot more than Matt Bolesky.
Yeah, well, it was... Boston got Rick Nash, and he got a first-round pick in 2018. Ryan Spoon, who's got the same amount of points this year as Rick Nash, and he's a centre. And I think he's a centreman. I don't know if he's a prospect anymore. He's about 25, but I don't know. But he's decent. Matt Bolesky, they can probably throw him in the remainder of the season, lose some games.
But Boston did retain half of his salary, which is important, because that means the salary hit is only $3 million or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. So it's not too bad. And then they got a 7th round pick in 2019. Then they got Ryan Lindgren, who looks like a good prospect. He's playing in college hockey at the moment. He's on. I think he's like an assistant captain for American under 21s or whatever it is. Yeah. Solid. It's a solid return.
What do you think about the 7th round pick? The 7th round pick makes me laugh, because you think honestly they were sat across the table from each other like loggerheads, and then they just went, "Oh, fine, have a 7th round pick."
What's the point?
You never know. You could get a Datsuk or a Zetterberg.
I don't.
You doubt it? Well, yeah, I do as well.
I
think like the percentage is something like, I think like first round pick like is usually like 30% of them made for the NHL.
Maybe the NHL, yeah.
Second round pick always goes down by the 7th round. I think like 2% maybe.
I mean, you do get something like Tyler Johnson at Tampa Bay wasn't drafted. So I mean, hey, if they manage to
pull happen, it really does.
It does, but not very often, which is why they don't. They're not worth a lot. Hey, there you go. Any other trades in between the gap that were really worth talking about? There was a couple of AHL people shifted around, but
Plekanec moved to Toronto.
Plekanec, yeah.
So that's sorted. Like they've got their centre depth's pretty impressive now. Really, like they've got Matthews, Kadri, Plekanec or Bozak. They can whichever one they want. So like Bozak's a more offensive third line centre, and Plekanec is a more defensive third line centre. So we haven't got a 4th line centre. They've got 2 thirds, which is pretty good. And they gave up. They didn't give up terribly too much, but they gave up a reasonable amount. Nice 2nd round pick, couple of okay kids. I won't call them prospects. I don't know. They're banging on the door, but
it's good news to you, though, isn't it? Because there was a risk, I suppose, on your side that they were going to re-sign him.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's a good.
I think they might re-sign him next season, but we're not going to make the playoffs. You might as well get something for him and then re-sign him. Some of them they've already laid down the foundations to do that. Supposedly.
Do you think that's what happened with Rick Nash?
I don't think he'll go back to New York. It's around about rebuilding, and Montreal, I think, are too proud to admit they're deliberately losing. So,
because actually, I've said not trade related, but IR related. A couple of players have been shut down for the season, as they call it. One of which, Carey Price. When I saw the replay,
I don't know if he's been shut down yet.
Faking it, is he? Because he was clobbered.
He got beamed.
He got beamed. Yeah.
So,
and Shea Weber's just.
Well, he got that injury in first game of the season, and like he had a ruptured tendon in his foot or something, and he still was on like half a point a game for a defenseman. Like, I don't like and fucking hell.
So how's that? Sevenson, and other pieces for
Severson
Weber
and other pieces.
trade.
What were the other pieces? Severson and I can't even remember. Some
Yeah, but he's
some
playing.
some shitty fucking defenseman for Shea Weber. He was alright for half a season. It's alright, mate. You win some, you
where
lose
are you
some.
in the league?
Oh, mate. When you've won 3 years in a row, you can come at me.
Next year.
So easy to prod. So one of the other trades is David Kemper, or Kemper, I presume it's pronounced, from Los Angeles Kings, moved to Arizona for Tobias Reeder and that well-known holy goalie, Scott Wedgwood. So I know, yeah.
It's a good name.
Well, yeah. Oh. He's not. I don't think they're re-signing him, are they? Kings should not re-signing Scott Wedgwood next season.
no.
They've literally got him because they need to have another goalie.
Yeah.
But for Arizona, man, like next season, I mean, we said this last season and they were still dire this season, so maybe it'll be the same. But they've now got 2 decent goalies.
Yeah. It's
Ranter's
wow.
good, Kemper's good.
Like, we've got 2 good backup goalies. Essentially, we haven't really got a starting goalie, have we? That's the thing.
Wow, save
So-
percentage on Ranter's pretty good, man. Compared, he's got literally horrific defence in front of him.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next one, because I'm conscious that we have so much to get through today. Michael Grabner went to the New Jersey Devils for a second-round pick,
I like
and
that.
Igor Rykov. What a name that is! Amazing.
I like the Grabner deal. Like he's sneaky good. Like he's fast. He can play anywhere in your lineup, and last couple of years he's scored 20+ goals. Like, and you just don't think Grabner. Oh yeah, okay. But then he plays a penalty kill. He can play a power play. New Jersey didn't want to mortgage too much for a future. They probably, in their heads, they're probably a bit ahead of a step than they are, kind of like Vegas, and they gave up a second-round pick. They got somebody decent. It shows the team that the general manager is willing to give them something to help them with the push, and
I
I
think
respect it.
good trade all round, I reckon.
Yeah.
So, chuffed with that. Right, talking about NHL 10, and this will be a name that this was one of those names where, for some saddo like myself who played all the NHL games and that, his name always cropped up in and it's Elias he got obviously his number put into rafters, Patrick Elias from the New Jersey Devils, and it was one of those names. When I heard it and heard him getting put into rafters, I thought, man, I always remember him on the game because even like in his later years,
Twilight
he was
years,
still amazing. He was still amazing, real.
Oh,
he
yeah,
was
he's
still
brilliant.
amazing in that.
He was a
So,
brilliant player.
I thought it was class though. He was really emotional about the whole event and being, because he's the first forward in the organisation to get his number in the rafters, isn't he?
Is he? I thought Marty Brodeur.
First forward.
Oh, is he first forward?
Yeah, Marty Brodeur would have been a goalie.
Okay. And Scott Stevens, and yeah.
Who's a defenseman,
Yeah,
So-
exactly. I thought you said first person.
I've done my research, Chris.
Listen.
I don't just
It's
surf this shit, man.
the thing is, it's because in them days when Marty Brodeur and Scott Stevens, like the New Jersey Devils, like created a new type of hockey, which just
Boring
made it
shit.
boring. Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
gross.
won by boring the opposition to death. And
Yeah.
Marty Brodeur would let 1 goal in the playoff series, and then win every game 1-0 because
Do-
they invented trap hockey, and it
If the
destroyed hockey.
Canadians are doing that now, would you be complaining?
Yes.
yeah.
We would,
No,
but we-
if we're still losing, yeah, I'd rather them throw the kids out there
For the kids.
and let them go and see what they can do and lose, than play a trap and lose 1-0 every game and still be shit.
So, we're gonna play a game after we've covered the last trade, and I went through. This is thanks to. I'm gonna give them a little plug. NHLTradeTracker.com. Okay, and I clicked on a bit that said worst trades ever.
Oh god.
Okay, so we're gonna play. How much did they give up for him? Right. Okay, but first we're gonna talk about the trade that matters most to James, which was Brassard to Pittsburgh, and they had to give up a first-round pick, which is pretty much a given for Pittsburgh. When was the last time they had a first-round pick?
It's been
Must have been Dylan Sprong a few years back.
Because they gave it last year,
2013?
didn't they?
that 13?
Maybe
For Ryan Reeves.
right, yeah.
We'll cover
yeah.
that later. So Brassard to Pittsburgh for a first. Gustafsson, who looks a pretty good goalie prospect, but to be fair, if there's one position that you don't need to worry about at the moment, it was probably goalie.
Yeah.
And then some other cap-related elements, really, weren't there? So what was your thoughts, James, really on the trade from a Pittsburgh fan perspective?
I'll be honest about Ryan Reeves. Delighted that he's gone. Not gonna lie. Brassard, I think, is a really good addition. I think we're quite.
He's the second line centre. He's going to be playing on their third line because they're that good, and it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. You look quite like that's done to their whole depth. Like they can have on their third line, they can have like a 25 goal scorer playing with, I don't know, Kessel or something.
Kuznetsov at the moment.
Yeah,
On
It's-
Gensel,
it's-
even so.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I was a bit worried what we were going to do with the trades because I think our line was our roster looked a bit weak, to be honest. I don't think we had enough players or depth. We had good players, but I don't think there was enough. And I mean, building up to the trade deadline, we got rid of more than we actually brought in, but we brought in well. I think Brassard is a really good addition.
Yeah,
And it's quite exciting. And I think Ryan Reeves, there was too many questions about him, and just too much doubt, I think, to keep him on the team. And don't get me wrong, he could do really well for Vegas, but
Yeah.
I really don't think it was working out for him.
It was a bit of an odd one for Vegas, but then to me it sounded like a trade for Vegas when they were kind of thinking we need a playoff hockey guy.
Yeah, they need
And
experience. in
Reeves
there.
is a playoff hockey guy. You know, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
he'll go
What's
in.
that
He'll
old
bang
Brixton
body.
Grit?
Yeah,
You know, so like
I just have a strong feeling now how poor of a season he's had with us. He'll really kind of excel at Vegas. And
Yeah,
it's just
everyone else
typical.
has.
Yeah, seems to
They'll
happen.
probably have a 26% shooting percentage and you
Just
know,
ridiculous.
point a game or whatever, like William Carlson, who's just
yeah. A fourth liner turns into an all-star.
and
overnight,
he's gonna be like 12 million a year next year. It's ridiculous. Anyway, yeah. So okay. So it's time for how much did they give up for that? So on April 3rd in 2013, the Washington Capitals acquired Michael Latta and Martin Erat.
Oh, this is a good
And
trade.
how much did they give up for that?
One of the best young players in the league. The second, he's doing second best out of that draft point wise. It's Philip Forsberg. and
Correct.
He's terrible. Like,
If I could do sound effects, the sound effects at the moment for any Washington Capitals fan will be wah wah wah.
and you
Because
look, imagine him on that
horrific.
team now. Like, imagine you just
They
look
couldn't
now.
afford it,
Like,
but still.
well, no, they probably couldn't. But imagine even when he was just on his entry level contract, him like next to Kuznetsov or something. Ridiculous. But
There you
Erat,
go.
he
Keeping
didn't-
it close
I don't
to
think he
home.
scored in them playoffs. I don't think.
Keeping it close to home now, mate. June 30th, 2009. The Montreal Canadiens acquire Tom Pyatt,
and
Scott
Scott
Gomez,
Gomez for
Scotty Gomez.
Ryan McDonough. Yeah, brilliant trade. It was terrible, and then we went and extended Scott Gomez for like $7 million a year, which at that time was big money. And I don't think he hit 20 goals or 20 assists or something. So it was absolutely terrible. It set the franchise back years, like because you think
not bitter about that. at all.
no, like that's like we could have had him paired with PK Subban, and you look when we met him in the conference finals, New York, and he was like a difference maker. And you like 3 years later, we could have had.
I know.
It's
And this is
terrible.
why I love trades. Like for people
Hindsight,
that are
like,
in like
If it doesn't affect you, I mean, that's why you
yeah,
love it.
but there's always one that does, and then there's loads that don't. So
Yeah.
I'm purposely picking none to do with the Hawks. So this is June 24th, 2006. We're going back a while now. Toronto Maple Leafs acquired Andrew Raycroft.
Oh no!
Do you know what they gave up the rights to in that transfer in that trade?
Something they needed for all them years. Number
Yeah.
one goalie, a Vesna winning goalie,
A
and
Vesna winning goal.
Tuukka Rask.
Tuukka Rask. There you go.
Jesus.
Bad times.
Oh wow!
So, so there you go. So whatever happens today, it won't be as bad as some of those. So,
You hope.
well, unless Carlson moves for like, I don't know, or if someone accidentally takes on just
Wow.
Bobby Ryan.
Carl, it's just been said that Carlson's staying in Ottawa,
Oh.
so it's a bit boring. So the trade deadline is even more boring.
Yes. Well, we never know. We never know. We'll still, don't want people to turn off the podcast, mate. Stay positive. never know.
Someone's just tweeted Thomas Tatar is heading to Detroit, where he already is.
What on the night out?
Yeah.
So, other trades then. So the Edmonton Oilers traded Letestu to the Predators for Pontus Aberg, and then within minutes, Nashville traded Letestu. Did he even pack his bags to Columbus, to Blue Jackets, for a draft choice? It says for 4th round pick. So I'm assuming it was just for a 4th round pick. So yeah. I always find it really funny when they trade someone and they trade them literally straight away, because you think, do they tell that person at the time
what's going to happen?
Because did they sit like Mark the Test you down and say, look, Mark, we're going to be trading you to the Preds, but just so you know, the Preds don't want you, so they're going to be trading you to someone else.
They sent him back home though, didn't they? So it's where he's like,
True, yeah.
He's got a house there. He's where his family's all based. So I don't know. Maybe it was just like there you go, have your swan song before you retire, because he's getting on a bit, isn't he?
So Matty Cullen's still going, and I'm surprised that Matty Cullen didn't end up back at Pittsburgh. I thought he would do.
I hope so.
Ryan McDonough has been traded to Tampa Bay.
What?
Yep. Ryan McDonough will be headed to Tampa Bay from New York Rangers, assuming it made the deadline pending trade call.
It will.
I've just looked at a tweet and it's come up for 10 seconds and it already had 100.
Who's it from though? Is it from bullshit.com?
Bob McKenzie
and
Bob McKenzie and Elliot Friedman.
Source. Yeah, they're two pretty illegitimate. They're two pretty legitimate sources.
Yeah. and another one is Tatar's gone to Vegas, not to Detroit, like that person said. So that's a pretty good pickup for them. I think he's struggling this year.
I tell you, whilst we let that come through, do you want to run through the trades that have happened today so we can go through them?
Not very many. Today, Ian Cole went to Columbus
on his merry-go-round of teams.
Nick Montrey and a third-round pick in 2020. Can't wait to see who they select then.
Yeah.
Ryan Hartman and a fifth-round pick to Nashville for a first round. Don't even want to pronounce the second name. Adjitsal, don't know.
Yep.
And a fourth-round pick.
Prospect.
It was a pretty good pick. I like Hartman.
I think from a Blackhawks perspective, right, Hartman's place in the team disappeared. Because the hope was that he would be a more skilled Andrew Shaw. That's not taking anything away from Andrew Shaw. Andrew Shaw is a fantastic player. Possibly the contract is a little bit kind. On $4 million a year, but he's still a really good player. Hartman was supposed to be a mix of the grit that we were talking about earlier, when you're Ryan Reeves kind of player, but with some skill there as well.
Yeah.
And he may still have that, but this season he really has retracted in his skill. Now, Nashville have taken a bit of a punt here, hoping that he turns it back around and becomes the player he was last season, which he may well do. But with Alex DeBrincat stepping up, Nick Schmaltz, all those sort of players, I think his role in the top six position is just gone. And I think to get a first round pick for him, admittedly, with it being Nashville, we will more than likely be pick 29, 30 or 31. But still, in this draft, I think that's probably going to be a potential top 4 deal, top 6 forward.
Yeah, you could get something good from it. So you can't grumble his first round pick, and if you could trade it as well. You could use it to acquire, because even if it is a 30th overall pick, you could get a Ryan Reeves or something with it.
No. So we had a season with Lance Bowman. We do not need more like peddling crap.
Wow. So Vegas sent a lot for Thomas Tatar.
Okay, go on then.
A first round pick, a second round pick, and a third round pick.
All from this year?
I don't know if it's from this year, but that's quite a lot, isn't it?
So, go on then, mate. What was the trades today? There was some others.
Trades today, Paul Stasny to Winnipeg. I like that for them. Conditional first, conditional fourth, and Eric Foley. I think Eric Foley is quite a good kid in the college system as well. I'm not sure what the conditions are on the picks. Then there's a few nothing trades.
Strange for the Blues, though, really. But then they've had people like, is it...
Before they've had struggle, like I can't remember who it was, but I think they had somebody who they felt like they had to keep hold of because they were going to the playoffs, and then they'd got bounced in the first round, and then they lost this guy in the off-season. I can't remember who it was, but it's happened before, so I think they've thought...
The centre position, though, at the Blues is stronger than what it was, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got kids coming up as well. They've got Robert Thomas, Jordan Kyrou coming through, and they've got like Kyrou had a 7-point night last night against one of the top teams in junior hockey. You know, wow, okay. Right. And this kid's not even supposed to be as good as Thomas is. They're meant to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Top one,
top 6 prospect. Okay, mate, so that's that one.
And then a couple of nobodies, right? Leipzig for home.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, who cares? Like, then Evander Kane to San Jose.
Yeah, who cares? No, joking. Right, so San Jose, what did they have to give up for Evander Kane?
They gave up another college kid. I'm not entirely sure who he is. A conditional first round pick and a conditional fourth. I'm not sure what the condition of the fourth is, but the first, if he re-signs with them, they have to give up a first and then if he doesn't, they have to give up a second.
See,
so
I really thought Pittsburgh were going to throw like caution to the wind and get another like scoring winger. I thought they might do it, but then I suppose
I don't know. I think because of how our form's been recently, they probably didn't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from, but
because Gensel's not really. He's not playing the sort of minutes he was playing last season, but
no
he's
way,
certainly not looking like. I don't want to say he's having a sophomore slump because the kid's still really good, but
he's doing okay though. That's the thing. It's just okay. There's
Yeah.
no like. There's no standout performances, and he just seems to be plodding along, doing his thing. But there's no real like. Doesn't seem no urgency there or anything like that.
So San Jose, that's going to be interesting because I
think
probably will make the playoffs
How
'cause they're
Evander
losing
Kane
week.
plays as well. He plays like big hockey, if that makes sense. Obviously, he can score and all that. Like, he might be a bit of a dick off the ice. Well, you don't know. All the reports say he is, but
who knows?
who cares if he's good on the ice, really, as long as he's not doing anything too bad. But if he plays that kind of physical hockey, which would fit in the West, because the West, to get to playoffs, they're going to have to go through They're going to have to go through LA, big team, Anaheim, big team, and like, it's not going to be easy.
I
So,
agree,
and
I agree.
like, you can't trade a Thomas Tatar to San Jose because he probably won't fit in because he's probably too weak. But if you trade Evander Kane, he doesn't
What do
mind.
you think about Vegas though? Because you're saying that Thomas Tatar trade then was Thomas Tatar goes to Vegas and Detroit get a 1-2-3 this year.
I don't know if it's this year, but that's pretty.
It would make more sense if it was this year than any other year because
Yeah, but
if Vegas regress next year, they're going to be paid if they're giving away the first round pick.
He's not a UFA though, is he? He's got 3 years left in his contract, so at least it's with term. So
Yeah, but
5.3 mil.
think of that. Think of that
so-
team right now. Cap isn't going to be too much of a problem for Vegas right now, but it will be in a year or so's time when some of their younger players start hitting contract time.
Yeah, it might
Right.
be. Yeah.
William Karlsson's going to want a chunk, you know, Cowboy Bill or whatever they call him, right? He's going to want a chunk because he's currently like the best player in the NHL, which is ridiculous. You know, the Corsi kids are going like losing their shit over it, and
Shooting percentage and all that.
yeah, exactly, yeah, all that stuff that doesn't really matter, and proven by the fact that William Karlsson's got the highest. So, and they've just taken on a guy there. They've got James Neal.
Yeah.
You've got Riley Smith, who's on $5 million. James Neal's going to want $6 million. Karlsson's going to want probably $4, $5, or $6 million. You've got David Perron. If soon Perron then is going to get shot at the end of the season.
He'll probably get. I don't know. He might re-sign for cheap, but he's one of them who you can, because you've got Tatar, they're similar players, they're smallish wingers.
I would have
producers.
gone with Gustav Nyquist from them. If you were going to get someone from Detroit, because he's only got 2 years, one of which you'd be burning anyway because it's this year.
Yeah,
You've only got 1 year to worry about him, and then you make the choice then. But I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
what do I know? I'm not a GM
another couple
of the
of
top team
trades.
in the league, so what do I know?
Joe,
mate, sorry.
Joe Morrow's Montreal stud defenseman, minus 100 probably.
Otherwise
this
known
season.
as Montreal's Carlson. Yep.
Yeah, been traded to Winnipeg for a 4th round pick.
That's pretty good value.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Bet we signed him signed him in the summer. It's not like we traded Pat Trace, which is good. And then that guy from what's his name, Pat Maroon, has gone to New Jersey.
Patrick Maroon.
Yeah, he's gone to New Jersey. I don't know what for yet either. So
All right, well, you
they're,
keep
they're
on that
all
man.
trickling through at the moment,
You
mate.
say you're the man with his finger on Twitter. So
I still can't believe that Tampa Bay got Ryan McDonough. Can you imagine Headman, Ryan McDonough?
Eisenman, man, like seriously.
Yeah, I don't know what he's
so
given
good.
up yet, but
Well, probably
he
first
could.
round pick.
first
They've
round
got-
pick.
it's got to be a
The thing is,
prospect.
they've got such a good prospect pool. They probably won't notice because they've got kids like Point, Yanni Gord, whatever his name is.
Do you reckon they gave up someone? I don't reckon
I don't
they
reckon
gave
they
up
gave
any
a roster.
prospect that was on the roster.
No, I don't think they. Well, that's the whole thing with Carlson. They were talking about that, and they wanted
roster though.
they wanted Braden Point, and they're like, "Nah, you're not getting
Yeah.
Braden Point." Obviously, he's worth Carlson's worth more than him, but with what the team is now, maybe in the summer you take one of their players away.
Is
But how-
McDonough that much worse than Carlson now? Based on Carlson's season this season,
yeah, Carlson's like a Hall of Famer.
I agree.
Like, he's one of the best
if
defensemen
his
ever.
ankle doesn't hold up and he
yeah.
struggles in
See-
years
see,
to
there's
come, McDonough's
question
got more
marks, yeah.
life. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
So I'm playing devil's advocate, Chris. Right. Well, whilst you in the trade centre that is the the sofa, work out what else is going on over there. We'll finish off those questions. So we obviously were talking about the Penguins this season.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to get your thoughts on first was Matt Murray. So talking of relapses, obviously Matt Murray's been through a lot this season.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to begin to try and like imagine what it must be like to go through what he's gone through this season. But even before that happened, he has had a bad season, and it's not unheard of for goalies to have rough seasons. So I'm not writing him off. But do you think maybe you've been quite fortunate that someone like Tristan Jarry's managed to just step in and have such a good season?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say because even at the start of the season when he was having such a bad season and you were kind of questioning why we gave away Fleury, but there was always something about Matt Murray that you just wanted to keep. It was someone you didn't really want to lose out on because you never know what's going to happen, and it was one of them that if we do lose out on him or we get rid of him, trade him, whatever we did, we'd regret it. And and then things did start to look up. Obviously, what happened. Won't go into detail about it, but we are lucky to have someone like a prospect like Jerry there. It's difficult to say, and I do think he will be number one, Murray. I genuinely do, but I just don't want to lose him.
Wow, sorry, it's our insider throwing us over there. More big news, but no, I completely agree, and I think he is number one goalie.
Yeah,
he's an elite goalie, and I think next season he'll probably have 924 save percentage, and him and Vasilevsky will end up being the two goalies that we talk about in the next 5 or 6 years.
Definitely.
And as hard as it was, I think for the Penguins to decide who they were going to keep between Murray and Fleury, I think they had to look forward. Because a lot of their team isn't forward-looking. No, Crosby is going to decline at some point in time. Well, maybe won't, but at some point the body will give up. Malkin obviously is a similar age. Kessel, like that Man Mountain, just keeps getting better. I have no idea how.
I don't know.
The meatball. He's not Man Mountain. He's like just a little meatball, isn't he? Of snipes.
He's amazing because. Like you just imagine all the hours in the gym, and you look at Phil Kessel, and like he just looks like
he's just walked out of the pub at like 3 in the morning. He just looks awful, but you just can't help but love him. He's amazing.
He is, and he's so consistent. Like for the Penguins, he's just. I mean, I suppose a couple of times in the playoffs he's gone walkies, but you can't like his production this year. You can't. No. He's been fantastic. So, but a lot of your team is pushing down that end. What I always find amazing with the Penguins is even though you never seem to have any top picks because of how well you've been and how well you've been doing, somebody every year out of your prospect pool just appears.
Yeah.
And they're like a 5th round pick or something who just suddenly becomes an NHL player overnight. We've never heard of them, or at least I haven't. So last year we obviously had Jake, right? And he like tore the playoffs to pieces, and the commentators were comically getting his name wrong because they just never had to pronounce it because he literally had hardly played any games.
Yeah.
This year you've got, and I'm going to try and pronounce this right, Dominic Simeone.
Yes, that's as close as I could get.
I was going to say, that's as good as he's getting on this podcast. Who's a centre, if I remember right. Is he playing the wing as well? Or
left, I want to say.
No, okay, but I thought and he's another one who seems to have just come out of the AHL pool, and he's not Getzler or anything like that, and he's not going to like. I'm not saying this is the next Crosby or anything.
But he's ridiculous.
But he's an NHL player, and I think Pittsburgh have done a really good job of getting these prospects through. And what do you think, Chris, in terms of how they've managed to get prospects seemingly from nowhere? But
they've drafted really well, and the thing is, they've had their core players in place, and because they're so good, the Malkins, the Crosbys, the Letangs and stuff. Well, Chris Kunitz, like Crosby made Chris Kunitz a career, didn't he? So you can put anybody really next to him.
For one minute, I thought you were putting Chris Kunitz in the
same. No. So, but it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you can put anyone with them, and it's going to work essentially. Yeah. And then they've worked their cap really well, like, and because they've had people come in, like Jake Guntzel or whatever the fuck his name is, come in, produced well. You'll probably want however many millions in his next contract, and they'll probably trade him, and they'll probably have somebody else coming through, and they'll just put him right there, and they'll just literally, they do that, just work in people's entry-level contracts, low deal contracts, and just make gold from it. So,
I think it helps working alongside people like Crosby, obviously. I think it gives the players like an extra kind of buzz, and that's why they do so well, is because they're thinking, I'm alongside Sidney Crosby. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. When they see things like that and they look across the bench, it must give them that extra lift, and that's probably why they're doing as well as they are. Yeah. You might not see that in another team or a lesser team if they were kind of focused on, say for example, you know, Gensel had another amazing season and like, you know, does so well in the playoffs, and we trade him and one team wants him to be their main star player. I don't think it will happen. I think when they bounce off players like I said, Sid and stuff like this, that's what makes them look so good.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what Boston's done well this year. They've taken their core stars, a lot of which have had bounce back years, and then just padded the lines with really good prospects.
Yeah,
like
or depth players, not necessarily even prospects. Like Matt Cullen, like he's been around for bloody decades, like, but obviously he's not there anymore. But like last season, he was depth, and they just had depth people like that. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
We were talking about Boston. It's fine.
Boston, but you know what I mean, like teams like that. But then like they have like Boston and stuff like that, and they've brought through kids out of nowhere. Like everybody was laughing at their general manager like 3 years ago when he had 3 first-round picks in a row, and he could have got Basel, somebody else in a row. Like he could have got Brock Bosa, Basel, and somebody else ridiculous, and then they just went off the board, and everybody was mocking them. And then, then 3 draft picks haven't really worked out, but everything else from that draft down, the second round, third round picks, have started to come into fruition now.
Is that people like DeBrusque and that?
Yeah, well, I think DeBrusque was one of them. They talked, so you're like, okay, at least he's okay.
He's still
but
well,
he's okay. Obviously, he's not a Basel or but still, they've done decent from that draft. Not necessarily the top picks, but their scouting in the lower rounds has done really well from them, and it's proving it now. So
cool. There was one of the trade actually we didn't get to talk about when we did our last podcast, because I think it happened the day or so afterwards, which was the Mrazek to the Flyers one. I mean, there's not much to say on that really, but that was got to be done, wasn't it? The second Neuwirth decided that he was done.
Mrazek isn't the best goalie, but neither's Neuwirth. But they got a competent goalie in, and it showed like they're still in the chase. I actually think they're fighting for they're on a tear at the moment.
They've got a good chance of winning the Metro. Haven't they?
They're going for it. But,
keep them out.
So that's another one of the the players came out and said, the management could have said, fuck it, our goalie's out.
Yeah, we're
done. But he went out. He didn't spend terribly much on a reasonable goalie, and there you go. We see what they are now.
Worked out.
Yeah, it worked out well. He's played a couple of games. Hopefully, he stands on his head tonight against Montreal. Helps us get Rasmus Dahlin.
Yeah, so we've got a new hashtag that Chris is trying to push for Montreal, which is falling for Dahlin. So,
dear Lord.
so any of Chris's tweets are finishing with hashtag falling for Dahlin. So it'll be great when you get
if we're gonna lose, we might as well lose badly.
But it's a lottery.
Yeah,
exactly. As
long as I'm over the bottom 3-4 teams, I'm gonna.
You're gonna end up with Zadina. So it wouldn't be a bad thing to be fair. Right. So over at the Trade Centre, then, otherwise known as Chris. Have we found out what they gave up? Because you flashed...
No, there's literally...
let's finish that sentence off. You flashed your phone at me a minute ago, which said that JT Miller was possibly involved in that trade deal.
Yeah, so it's JT Miller and Ryan McDonough going to Tampa Bay, and still no clue what's going back. There's obviously going to be picks. I reckon if JT Miller's going, though, I reckon there might be a young forward from the roster.
They'd have to have given someone off the roster for that.
Because...
Do you think maybe
or they're going to have JT Miller on the fourth line, which would be ridiculous.
Mental, yeah.
But I'm not sure. Like Patrick Maroon's gone to New Jersey for like a third-round pick, which is...
That's a steal.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Kempney went for a third-round pick.
Yeah, wow. And I think...
He's crap.
But somebody said a third-round pick, but they could just be trolling Cicerelli because he's an idiot, isn't he? The manager. So...
That's a good point. Yeah, we
So
forgot quite how bad the Edmonton GM is.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. Was
That
it?
isn't nearly as bad as
Did
Montreal.
they give them?
We brought a
Maroon-
UFA like Montreal did. I don't know why, because he's going away at the end of what we sent a 5th round pick to get Mike Riley. I see Morgan Riley. Well, I didn't see Morgan. I thought I seen Morgan Riley and got really excited, but for a 5th round pick. But no, Mike Riley, whoever he is.
Oh, that's classic.
But yeah. So New Jersey adding Maroon and Grabner is pretty solid because I think their defense is decent enough. They've got a good goalie back there, but their forwards, I don't know if their depth forwards are quite good enough, plus they've got a few injuries.
They have been lacking a bit.
Yeah, so if
Well,
adding a
because
couple, they're not
People like
necessarily-
Gibbons wasn't going to be a point a game for the whole season, was it?
How
I mean,
do you know?
he had what now?
William Carlson is. So.
Wild Bill even from TC.
Wild Bill.
Wild Bill, yeah. I tell you what, the day that contract gets signed, man, I cannot wait to see what they get screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, and apparently the trades that never happened. Apparently Anisimov was the Columbus Blue Jackets asked of him. Maybe this is before they got the test too. Who knows? But they asked for Anisimov. They wanted to give Chicago a 3rd round pick, but they wanted Chicago to retain half of Anisimov's salary, and rightfully so. The Bowmeister, Stan Bowman, said, well, probably in less words, but no thank you.
Yeah.
Not a good trade. Yeah, so there we go. Right, so any other stuff that you've got on the horizon?
No,
Mr. Gill?
it's a bit. I think everybody's just waiting for.
So nobody had Carlson then?
No, Maroon return from New Jersey to Edmonton is a 3rd in 2019, and a prospect who might be from the NCAA. They don't know yet. So
Okay, so that's still to come.
that's still to come. Nothing much more. Can't believe Tampa Bay got Ryan McDonough. Well, I don't think he's a really good shutdown defenseman.
What if they gave up Sergachev?
If they did, I'd laugh a little because everybody was saying how
amazing Sergachev is.
yeah,
They,
he is pretty good.
like JT Miller and McDonough command a serious wedge.
Yeah,
Like
So-
McDonough, I know they're blowing it up, but they're not blowing it up for nothing. Like
Exactly.
there's no benefit in just trading shit
Okay.
away for nothing. So
here. Oh wow, Nesmistnikov
Nemestikov, yeah,
is
close.
going 2018 1st round pick, conditional 2nd pick. Libor Hayek, Brett Holden. That's a good Nemestikov. I do like him.
Nemestikov's a good player.
He's
However,
really good. But
that seems like they got off lightly there.
yeah,
If that's all they
because
gave
JT
up,
Miller, I don't know if
Brett
he's a
Holden,
centerman.
who gives a shit about
I don't know if he's a centerman, but he can probably
that? Which one?
JT Miller. I don't know if he plays centre.
He plays centre and wing, doesn't he?
He can put Stamkos back to centre where he likes to play, and then there you go. And you just have an open left wing spot where JT Miller can
So
go
JT
sit
Miller
there.
will replace Nemestikov, who already plays on the
And
wing.
then they'll just swap over and Stamkos will go centre again,
Yeah.
like he did when he scored 60 goals one
So
season.
their top D line now is Ryan McDonough and Victor Hedman.
Yeah, and then got Stroman.
Man, I'm jealous. My top D line is Duncan Keith and Jordan O'Sully.
Mine is Jamie Ben, no Geordie Ben, and Carl Osner. How do you like those apples?
You win. Oh dear.
Soon to be darling says everything's going to be okay.
Oh, soon to be darling, a little bit falling for darling. Right, so okay, so this is one of the features that we were going to do today, and this is was originally put in because we were thinking, man, we don't really want to talk about too much because we didn't know how many trades there was going to be or how little there was. So we're going to, from each of you, and obviously myself as well, I want your predictions, but not normal predictions for the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I want a crazy prediction from each of you. What you think at the beginning of the season you thought would never happen, and Vegas cannot be included in this, by the way.
Okay, well, Vegas is the obvious one.
go on.
I didn't think...
Crazy prediction for the playoffs. What do you think something will happen that will just be at its will?
I reckon Vegas will make conference finals.
Can't be Vegas.
But no, this is in the playoffs.
First thing said. Can't be
I
Vegas.
thought you meant throughout the season. Okay.
No Vegas.
Okay, Tampa Bay will get knocked out in the first round.
Wow.
Ryan McDonough will sit on the ice and cry.
I will
By
laugh.
Rangers.
I reckon they will. I think that I like Tampa Bay, but when Montreal played them before in the playoffs, well, they beat us once, but I think a few of them are quite arrogant little kids, really. Like, you look at, like, Palat, Kucherov, like, they're brilliant players, but you see them, like, when they're winning, well, you know, they've probably matured a bit, but they just have this little smirk on their face. I reckon if they come up against a team like Philly or something, and Wayne Simmons would just bloody destroy, like, these ain't grindy guys. They got Ryan Callahan, who's a bit of a, like...
He's a bit of a grinder, isn't he?
He's a bit of a grinder, but he's up to my knees, like, he's tiny. If he's going against Wayne Simmons or bloody someone like that, he's going to get destroyed.
It's sometimes when players call, when like, pundits and stuff call players grinders, what they mean by grinder is that they're not that good, and they're normally on horrific contracts.
Yeah, like Ryan
Callahan, yeah.
But I like to look at a proper power forward, like a Wayne Simmons, somebody like that, who is actually, he's good, and he doesn't
strong.
give a shit, and if you want to go, he'll go with you, or he'll try to put you through your plexiglass in playoffs. I think they're good. Okay, Ryan McDonough's helped their defence, but Hedman, strong, yeah, okay. Stroman, strong. McDonough, clearly strong. After that, we've got Dan Girardi, we've got Mikhail Sergachev, who's brilliant, but he's a bit of like a PK Subban, where when he was young, PK Subban, he'll turn the puck over trying to toe drag from behind his goal. I don't know if against Boston, I can't imagine them surviving against Boston.
Okay, so your crazy prediction is that Tampa Bay, after giving up, well, not a lot to be honest, to get Ryan McDonough, but anyway, we'll move on away from that because it's going to depress me. I mean, Nemestikov's an RFA at the end of this year. So, he's going to want dollars, right?
Yeah.
And so, Rangers, admit they've saved his shed load of contract.
Rangers
haven't got that much D.
No, we haven't got much D at all, but they're pretty strong down the middle now.
Great, because
Sabanajad, Nemestikov.
Yeah,
we've got him. Them two, 1 and 2 centre punches.
If you just leave a gap, I'll fill the name in for you.
Pretty solid 1-2 punch. Obviously, it's not a Malkin Crosby.
Look, imagine their 6D for next season, right? You've got Brady Shea.
It's good. I like Brady Shea.
It's a good start. It goes downhill from here.
Start strong.
DeAngelis or whatever his name is.
D'Angelo,
yeah. As I said, it goes downhill fast. We've not even got to Mark Stahl, right? It's not looking great.
No, it's not.
So they're obviously, when they said they were blowing it up.
Messing it up.
That'd be funny. Poor Hank, because he must be thinking, man, this D sucked when we had Ryan McDonough. Now I've got no one. Anyway, so over to you, James. Crazy prediction for the 2018 playoffs.
I think we're going to get affected massively, and when I say we, I mean the Pens. I would not be surprised if we get knocked out first round. I really wouldn't.
There's some confidence for you.
I just wouldn't. I'm not just because of how bad our season started. And I know everything's picked up again, but I wouldn't put it past them to get knocked out in the first round. And
okay, right, we're going to go sideways now. So imagine they get knocked out without crying. Imagine they get knocked out in the first round. What does Jim Rutherford do with that team? Does he then? And I'm not suggesting he goes full on Rangers.
Someone big will
gets
leave.
the dynamite out.
Someone big will leave. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was Malkin.
You think Letang?
I'm going Malkin. You think
Malkin?
Phil?
I think Big Phil, yeah.
Nah, Malkin. He's going to break my heart, and I'm never going to come back on the podcast after he leaves.
I think another one. Philadelphia Flyers are going to make. They're going to make the Stanley Cup final.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was on the Wall Street Bully podcast, which was very, very difficult to record because clearly they're in Philadelphia. And the time difference is like 6 hours or 5 hours or something like that. And I lost track when it got past midnight. And Drew, the guy who does it, was saying, yeah, we do about 7 p.m. our time. And I was kind of like adding the hours up in my head thinking, oh shit, that's like 1 a.m. And that's what I said on their podcast, was that it's... I see them doing what Vegas... No, not Vegas. I see them doing what Nashville did last year, which is... Maybe they'll creep into the playoffs, as in they'll end up being a wildcard team at the end when it all's said and done. But because of the players they've got, I mean, in the league, literally anybody can turn anybody over. And you look at that team, Giroux is on fire, and they've got literally their top 6 are all, doing really well.
Yeah, but there's questions in goal, like. He's a decent pick-up, but...
Elliot, you mean, yeah. Oh, no, sorry, you mean Mrazek.
Mrazek, any of the three of them, Razak, Elliott, and
Neuwirth,
Neuwirth. Like the question marks, like I don't know, like if they're going to be good enough. But fucking, you've seen teams win with teams made a Stanley Cup final with worse. Like before when Philadelphia did it, Michael Lehtinen, like I think he's been playing in the ECHL last few years. Like he made it there. So sometimes you just need a goalie to get hot. But other than that, I like their forwards. I really like, and then their defence as well is young, but I think it's ready to make a push.
They need January Razak. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's what I worked out. To get to the Stanley Cup playoff final and to win it, it's going to hang on whether or not Mrazek is season Mrazek or January Mrazek. If he's January Mrazek, they're in. If he's the rest of the season Mrazek, then they're not.
But last time I think he played in the playoffs. Might have been a few years ago, about 4 years ago. I think when he was just coming through, he stood in his head. Like I think they lost him in the first round to Tampa, who at the time were a powerhouse again. I mean, I think they took him to Game 7 overtime possibly, and maybe playoffs just gives me a little spark that you need.
It does with goalies sometimes. You sit down like Hank. Hank's the prime example of that. He stands on his head normally in the season anyway, but he certainly does in playoff time. So that takes us on to the last feature. We haven't done this feature for a while, but we are going to return to be a GM for a day. So this time, obviously, we have James. James is our GM for a day. Obviously, we're trying to choose the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're not going to make you do somebody else.
Please.
When you just say, I'll blow it up. So you have to imagine now that you are Jim Rutherford. For the sake of it, let's say that because the trade deadline's happened now and all the rest of it, let's say that the playoffs have finished and let's hedge our bets. So let's say they didn't win it, but they got quite far.
Okay.
Right? So they weren't awful, but they didn't win either. So it's now the gap in between this season and next season. You know, what would you do if you were GM for a day?
What would I do and what would he do is very different things. I feel like to get off, my worry the whole season already has been the lack of players we have. I always fear that massively, and then leading into this trade deadline, I wasn't happy that we didn't have enough players, and then now it's finished. We've brought in, I think it's on maybe 2 or 3 players and got rid of 5 again. And that's just making me more and more worried. So I think depth is a massive thing. Obviously, our team is getting older and older with the likes of Crosby and whatnot. That they're not getting any younger. Last year, we got rid of a lot of guys that were great rotation players, but we're getting to the age of, 38, 39, which is what you've got to do. But there's the balance that you need to do. And I think, for me, it would be maybe getting a couple old boys, whether that's bringing someone back like Cullen or whatever, or even just getting in more prospects. I know we've got this one guy, if I'm right, his name was, I think it was Patrick someone, could be wrong, but Daniel Sprong, nowhere near. Daniel Sprong, someone like him, I'd love to see him get into the mix of the team.
He's from Holland as well.
Yeah,
he's weird.
20 years old from the Netherlands.
Yeah, and he's been playing in the AHL. They drafted him 2 years ago. Playing in the AHL, doing reasonably well. Yeah, and people were surprised that he wasn't involved in the.
People were expecting him to be
involved in the trade for Prasad, but
really,
Ottawa is it GM again, but.
Is he in the AHL at the moment?
He's in the AHL. Yeah. He's been in the AHL since he was 18. So if you're an international player, you're allowed to come over and play. But if you're a junior, you have to be 20 or something like that. Yeah.
Well, he was expected to play a bit more this season. Then, he obviously hasn't at all. But he was expected to play this season because of the lack of players we have in the forward position. He was expected to come in. It hasn't. He hasn't even.
I think he's in the same boat as Josh Hosang in New York Islanders because he's got all the offensive skill in the world. But his defensive side of the game isn't there. Down in the AHL, down in juniors, doesn't really matter because you can outscore teams 8-7 every game. But in the NHL, if you're not busting your ass to get back, the coach is going to notice it and you ain't going to play.
Yeah, you ain't going to play. Yeah.
It just worries me of our lack of depth. I think that is something if I was Jim Rutherford, that I'd need to address.
Yeah,
like whether fair point. It just seems that we're just scraping by, and it's.
Do you think you have to move a big piece to get pieces back? A bit like the McDonough trade in terms of the you think actually no, but a better trade to use is probably Rick Nash actually in terms of Rick Nash, one player goes one way but you get 2 or 3 back the other way. okay, there's 2 or 3 players on 3 lots of Rick Nash, but they are 3 players who could potentially.
I think to free up some space, someone like, however much I hate this because he's probably my second favourite player, Letang. I think we need to free up some space and get rid of maybe Letang. Someone.
I don't know what I think he might go, but I don't know what defence looks like. We've got Ollie Mata.
I like Ollie Mata.
We've got Justin Schultz, who's turned his career around.
We've got Brian Dumoulin. I'm not sold on him.
He's a bottom 2 D man, isn't he? But
he's on 4 million a year.
There you go.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know where. If you get rid of Tang, obviously he's had his injuries in the past, and they've managed to get past him and win Stanley Cups without him. But I don't know how they're going to be able to. Like, I think the last time somebody won a Stanley Cup with that bad of the blue line was when Carolina won it. It was a good line. They had a terror. I think Ron Hainsey. I don't even know he.
No, he wasn't there because his first playoff appearance was with the Penguins last year.
Was it? Oh, well, so yeah, but them type of players like they had, and obviously.
I think you're right. I think you're going to be patching gaps because that's the position that you guys are in. But yeah, it's hard because you want to capitalise on the now without sacrificing the future, and I think it's a really difficult position for a GM to be in because in this day and age you don't get anything for nothing. So if you want a player, unless you're going to pick them up in free agency, which is hard, then you are going to have to pay for it. And to be fair, as we both know, in free agency you're going to pay for it as well. You're just going to pay a lot more for the player themselves rather than what you could get if it was a pick.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot to complain about at all, but I think it is scary times ahead that we've been successful now, obviously back to back, and it just scares me that
been successful for 10 years, really.
Yeah,
have they missed the playoff? I think they missed playoffs maybe one year.
They've been
once
there or thereabouts for a long time.
Like they've always been. Nobody ever goes into Pittsburgh and thinks, oh, okay, it's gonna be. It's not like you're going to Arizona or Chicago or Montreal, is it? Like you're not thinking, oh, it's going to be an easy game tonight. Even when they were bad, because you got to put up against. Back in the day, you had to go against Fleury. You had to go against prime Crosby, who's still in his prime. You have to go against Malkin. Like any night,
never ending prime.
Even in a losing season, they were never terrible, and they might have had a couple of off seasons, but they were always winning playoff rounds or getting at least they were always making the dance, weren't they?
I agree. Cheers for that, James. Appreciate obviously your insight into the Penguins, far more than the 2 of us have got.
Pleasure.
Before I do the normal wrap up, I'm going to go one last time over to Chris. Has anything else come out whilst we've been doing the BGM for a day?
No.
So
nothing. Basically, the deal is like I got somebody's name mixed up. I blame Bob McKenzie. He made a spelling mistake. So they got Libor Hajek, who's meant to be pretty good.
Okay.
The kid.
Prospect,
and Brett Holden was his name. I think he's a good prospect.
Sounds right.
So,
I think. Well, okay, go on.
So Holden.
I'm sure it's prospect. I think he's an old.
No, Brett Holden. I think he was playing in Team Canada. Maybe he was last 2 seasons.
He's
maybe
23.
Yeah, he's quite young. I think he's in maybe Syracuse. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay,
but
so he's a prospect. Yeah.
Yeah, prospect, and then obviously Nemestikov, first round pick, conditional second, and all that.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Gave up a lot to go out in the first round, though. So.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Cool. Well, I think that's about wraps us up for today. Obviously, as I said, we have got this out quicker than we normally do, but that's because I'm conscious that it becomes old hat pretty quick. And as you guys know, you can get in touch with the show obviously via the normal channels. So we have got a Twitter, which is The Offensive Z. And you can email the show, which is theoffensivezone@outlook.com. If you want to post questions, we'll ask the questions on the show and give you answers. If you want to ask us to do a special topic, we'll do that too. I'd say we do just about most things, but that's not true. If it was question related, we might do. And then thanks for all the listens and downloads. They're really solid at the moment, and we're seeing them increase every week, which is great. And cheers for those that are listening via the radio station as well, 12OZ Sports. So, yeah, well, from me and from the guys, we'll see you guys soon.
See you in a bit.